One day I was having a call with my mother, and it was supposed to be a routine call, just catching up with each other. And all of a sudden, she said something that I wasn't expecting at all. She said, "You're doing it again." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You're breaking yourself down to build back up. And I watched you do this your whole life. And I always see that, how painful it is for you." In my head, I thought that no one had noticed that. I'm a COO of a eight-figure company, and I'm the person who's responsible for multiple departments and people. And I'm the person who's supposed to have it together. And my mother, in one sentence, saw exactly what was happening inside of me. And actually, she was right, and I was very surprised. And that conversation changed everything. I grew up in a small city in north of Iran. And I was a kid with big ambitions and absolutely no one around me who understood them, let alone could guide me. And I have always wondered what made certain people leaders, what gave them the ability to walk into any room and shift the energy, to make people want to follow them. I thought that it was just power, that whoever has power is supposed to be a leader. But I was wrong. When I went to university and studied business administration, I learned about the concept of management, which is the art and science of using available resources to achieve the best results possible. It's a very simple and clear definition. But when I asked about leadership, no one could give me a straight answer. So I did what like most people do. I set it aside and let it go. Then I entered the corporate world through sales, and I was in sales since I was a kid. I was selling stuff. And if you ever worked in sales, you know that how hard it is. It forces you to recreate yourself over and over again. You need to fail, you need to embarrass yourself, you need to pick yourself up over and over again. And I failed more times than I can count. I embarrassed myself more times than I want to even remember. But I also lived across four different countries: Iran, Russia, Cyprus, and Canada. And each move forced me to start over, starting over in a new culture, new language in some cases, and new version of myself. And through all of that, I kept watching people. I was watching managers, founders, executives, and I kept noticing the same thing. Nobody truly understood what leadership actually was. They had the title, they had the authority, but they weren't leading. At least from my perspective, not really. But again, I didn't pursue why until I became a COO. When I stepped into the COO role for the first time, I was hit hard and fast. Arguments I wasn't prepared for, conflicts I didn't know how to navigate, a lack of respect that made one thing clear: having the title is not the same as being a leader. I found myself becoming the kind of leader I had always criticized. And that's a brutal thing to realize about yourself. So I did what my mother had always watched me do my whole life. I started breaking myself down once again. And I became obsessed with understanding leadership beyond frameworks, beyond listicles, beyond different type of habits. So I went into history: Julius Caesar, Themistocles, Harriet Tubman, Tokugawa Ieyasu, Marcus Aurelius, Cyrus the Great. Completely different cultures, completely different centuries. And then I tried to learn about neuroscience and a little bit of psychology, how human beings actually change, not how we think we change. And I started asking questions that kept me up at night. Why don't we have better leaders in our communities, in our businesses, in our society, and in politics? Are these really the best leaders that we have around us? And why does nobody teaches us how to be leader before stepping into a leadership position? And the more I looked, the more I realized something very surprising. We don't lack information. We have more leadership content than ever before in human history. But the real problem is this one. Almost all of it is solving the wrong problem. Let me explain what I mean. Because most leadership development tries to add skills to who you already are. They all assume that you can become a leader while remaining the same person. But that doesn't work. It's like installing a new software on an old operating system. It might work for a while, but the old system always breaks through because your brain has spent years, maybe decades, optimizing itself for your current identity. And neural pathways carved through repetition. And your nervous system calibrated for who you've been, not who you're trying to become. And you can read every leadership book, attend every workshop, but if you don't address the identity underneath, nothing will stick. It never does. And this is what my mother saw before I saw it myself. Every transformation in my life required destroying an outdated identity before a new one could emerge, breaking down to build back up. Every great leader in history went through this one too. Julius Caesar didn't just cross a river called Rubicon. He destroyed his old identity as a law abiding general, an identity that built over decades. And he knew once he crossed that Rubicon, there was no going back. And that's what this is about, the moment of no return, the Rubicon leader. I started writing this book for my younger self, for that kid in north of Iran, for the version of me who entered the corporate world completely unprepared. I wanted to write the book I needed myself when I was younger. But something unexpected happened when I was writing the book. I started to transform once again. Each chapter that I was writing forced me to confront myself. Each story revealed patterns I was still repeating. And the writing and researching was like an excavation. And I realized something deeper. This isn't just my own pattern, it's the pattern of leadership transformation. Because every leader who creates something lasting goes through three things. First, they transform internally, including their mindset, character, identity, before any external changes. Secondly, they learn to create change in other people, not just through authority and force, but through influence, through trust, through communication. And thirdly, they build systems, they build cultures, they build leaders, institutions, things that grow stronger without their presence. These are the three main Rubicons in my book. And I'll be direct with you. This book is not for everyone. If you want quick tips, this is not for you. If you think leadership is about titles, this is not the book for you. If you're not willing to do the uncomfortable work, this is not for you. But if you feel even quietly that becoming a leader requires becoming someone new, if you're willing to do the internal work, and if you are ready to cross your own personal Rubicon, then I wrote this book for you. When my mother said those words to me, "You're doing it again," I felt shame. But over time, I understood what she saw. She was watching transformation. She was watching the mechanism. Because sometimes breaking down is the only way to break through. The book is called The Rubicon Leader. And I won't tell you that it will change your life. That's your decision. But I will tell you this. I poured everything into it. Four different countries, different leadership positions, and years of failure and rebuilding. And I'm proud of it because I created a blueprint for my younger self and for my future self. If this resonated with you, the link is in the description. And tell me this one. Has someone ever seen something in you before you saw it in yourself? Because those moments, those are the real Rubicons. And I'll see you in the next one.